Do you know when you're all ready to start creating your Power BI report and then you take a look and a source file is a complete mess? Well, we're going to fix that today using Power Query. Hi, my name's Anne from Adair-Major Consulting, and today I'm going to walk you through the steps I use all the time in Power Query to clean up data. Before we jump into Power BI, let's quickly understand the big picture and what we're about to do. We need to think of Power Query as our personal data factory. It starts with the original data source. In this case, it's going to be a messy Excel file. And we feed that into Power Query. Inside Power Query, we're not just doing one-off fixes, but we're building a series of applied steps that is like a precise recipe. Once we've built that recipe in Power Query, it then sends that clean transformed data back into Power BI for our reports and dashboards. Then, if our original data source changes and we refresh, well, all of those steps are automatically repeated, meaning we don't need to manually clean the data again. First things first is open up Power BI Desktop. For this tutorial, I'm just going to choose an Excel, but the steps are really similar if your data is in most other formats. Once I've selected the file, Power BI displays a preview window called the Navigator. You'll see it offers me a table or a sheet. The most important thing you can do in this Navigator window is making sure that you choose Transform Data and not just Load. If we choose Load, the data is going to load in exactly as it is now. Whereas when we choose Transform Data, what will happen is Power BI will open Power Query, where we can then solve the messy data issues. Here on the left, you'll see all of our queries or tables. In the central pane is where we can see the preview of our data. And on the right is this really important pane called Applied Steps, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We can see the preview of the data that we loaded into Power Query. And we're going to start with some foundational cleaning steps that provide an immediate improvement. First things first is that you'll notice that the column headers are incorrect. Instead of meaningful names, you'll see they're just generic fillers. And actually, our headers are stuck in the first row of data. This is quite common with Excel files. So the fix is really straightforward. And literally on the Home tab, there's a button that says Use First Row as Headers. And all we need to do is click that. Instantly, Power Query has promoted our first row as our column headers. Now we're going to need to refine these column names for a little bit of better clarity in our report, making sure that we rename anything like call 1 or giving consistency of either using underscores in the names or not. To rename a column, all I need to do is double click on it and type the new name. Clear and consistent headers are vital because these can appear in our final reports, charts, and dashboards. Now, while we're organizing, let's remove unnecessary columns. So in our sales data, we have a column that in this case is just called unused column, and the values have no analytical value. Keeping irrelevant columns adds clutter in our reports and also makes our data model bigger, which ultimately can slow down our reports. All I have to do to remove it is to right-click and select Remove Columns. Setting the correct data type for each column is a really critical step for accurate analysis. Power BI needs to know if a column contains text, numbers, or dates to perform calculations, sort data, and display information correctly. In Power Query, all you have to do to identify the data type is look at the small icon to the left of each column header. ABC icon indicates text, a calendar icon indicates a date, 1, 2, 3 indicates a whole number. Power BI attempts to detect types automatically, but this isn't always accurate with messy data, so it's important to always check. So here we can see that we've got order ID as a whole number, and order date, which is currently incorrectly set, and therefore we won't be able to do any date-based analysis. So changing this over to date. Before we change the sales amount column to a number, however, if we look at it, we can see we've got some text entries in there, such as not available. If we attempt to convert this column to a number at this stage, we'll generate errors. So to ensure the sales amount column is purely numeric, we're going to use the replace values feature to handle not available or blank entries. On the sales amount column, we can go to the Transform tab, clicking Replace Values. In the dialog box, for values to find, type not available, and then in this case, we can replace it with 0. What you replace it with
may change depending on what type of data you have. So you may actually want that to be blank, for example. In this case, we're actually removing blanks. So now that the column only contains numeric characters, we can safely set this data type to decimal number. Now let's filter out any rows that are not relevant to our analysis. In status column, you'll notice that some orders are marked as test. These are test entries that shouldn't be included in the actual sales report. To remove them, all I need to do is click on the drop down for the status column and then use the filter menu to untick test. This works really quickly because there's only a few values. But if you actually had more values in here, but you knew there was test, what you could do is use the filter and then filter out anything that was called test. Or the way that's framed is filter it so only values that are not equal to test are left. So there we go, there's no more test values or rows within our data. Sometimes a single column contains multiple pieces of information, and it would be far more useful if these were distinct fields. So in this case, in our sales data, the customer info column contains both the customer name and their city, separated by a space dash space. For better analysis, we need these to be individual columns, and Power Query provides a really easy way to do this. You may have used something similar with text to columns in Excel. Very similar in that we go to transform, split column, and by delimiter. In the dialog box, all I need to do then is to say to split the column based on the hyphen or the dash. And I'm going to do that at each occurrence of the delimiter and click OK. Power Query has created two new columns. I just now need to rename them to customer name and customer city. And now I have much better data for me to be able to analyze. Finally, let's add a layer of polish to our text data. Text columns can often contain hidden issues like extra spaces at the beginning or end, or even sometimes invisible non-printable characters. These can cause problems when you're filtering or sorting or grouping data. If we select all of our text-based columns by holding down Control and then clicking each one, I can then go to the Transform tab, click on Format, and then select Trim. This removes any leading or trailing spaces. Then again, going to Format and select Clean, and this removes any non-printable characters. Throughout the entire cleaning process, you may have noticed that a list was accumulating on the right side of the Power Query editor. This is Applied Steps. The Applied Steps pane acts as a complete chronological record of every single transformation you've performed in your data. Every action from promoting headers to renaming columns to replacing values and splitting columns is recorded as a distinct step in this list. Any point you can click on any of the steps and see how your data looked at that precise point in the transformation process, or even make changes to steps that you applied several steps ago. So if you make a mistake and you want to change a setting or even remove a step altogether, you can easily go back to the dialog box or click X. Now that we've taken a lot of steps to clean the data, what's really good is to ensure and check what we've done and making sure that our data is in a good state. And we can do that by leveraging the data profile tools within Power Query. When you navigate to the View tab, you'll see a number of different options. There's column quality, which displays a bar above each column showing the percentage of values that are valid, have errors, or are empty. It provides an instant health check. Column distribution shows a visual representation of the values distributed within a column, helping you spot outliers or unexpected patterns. And then column profile. When you select a specific column, this pane provides detailed statistics, including distinct values, unique values, and common value counts. By using these tools in Power Query, they give you an immediate visual feedback and detailed insights into your data's characteristics, making it much easier to pinpoint exactly where you need to clean or transform data. Now that we've taken our raw, chaotic spreadsheet and transformed it into a nice, clean, structured, and reliable data set, all we have to do is now load it into Power BI, ready for you to start modeling and building out your visualizations. Now that you have lovely, clean, organized data, why don't you check out one really great way of using that, which is a feature within Power BI called slicers. Here, I'm going to leave a video about list slicers, which is one of the newest kinds of slicers that Power BI has launched.
Why don't you check it out? I'll leave it just here. Go on, click it. Go on.